January 14th, 2020, Finance Committee meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. We've let's say we'll start the meeting at like 6:03, even though it was marked at 5, we were in the select board. And we'll finish with that. So now that we have people here, Mr. McMahon and I don't know your name.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm the new library director.
Okay. Welcome. If you want to come up, I know you guys had some personnel situations you wanted to address.
Well, at the end of February, Margot Sorozik, our longtime children's librarian, is going to be retiring. And what we were hoping to do, and we also presented to the select board, was she works 22 and a half hours a week, and what we were hoping to do was transform that position into a 37 and a half hour a week position. And the reason we're asking now is because obviously we're going to need to fill the position, and it's very likely that if we advertise for a part-time versus a full-time position, we're going to get a completely different pool of applicants. So that's why we're asking kind of at a weird time of the year. But I think this was something Diane had tried to pass through before, and we'd really like to try it again just to see. It's something that's needed, and I think Mike said at the last meeting, since we moved into the new building, that we've only gotten, was it 6?
We've added 6 hours since the new building opened in '99.
Yep.
And the number of residents in town, the number of programs, the number of kids, everything has changed over that intervening period.
Yeah, and given the time after Diane retired and I started, and we also didn't have an assistant director for about a month and a half or so. So we do have overage in this year's budget to potentially cover an increase in hours if a person were to start early March-ish. And then...
Do you anticipate being able to cover that increase with what you have?
With the
what we have,
existing
yep.
money that's
Yep.
in there.
Yeah.
For this year?
For this year.
For this fiscal year?
That's why when we talked to the selectmen last week, they said, okay, that would be good, but we've promised the FinCon that we won't sneak in new employees or different things without them hearing about it and talking about it for future years.
Okay.
At the annual budget hearing last year, I had talked about you guys being denied assistance as you've requested for numerous years. Carl said this would be the time it would happen.
It was memorialized in the Westfield News in an article in one of the April issues of last year, quoting you and then quoting Art Pennell, saying, maybe do it and talk to them in the summer.
Yeah, and now is the perfect time because, looking at Margot's been here 20 plus years or so, and now she's retiring. And, we want to make sure that, if we do hire someone for only part-time hours, if we were to eventually be able to make it full-time in the future, some people don't want full-time. As of right now, the hours are a good, working mother's hours. So, that's who we might get if we were to hire for 22 and a half, as opposed to 37 and a half. So.
What is it in particular that's allowed you to have these overages in your salary line items that you could apply?
Oh,
Yep.
when Diana left and Lynn came, there was like 4 or 5 weeks where there was no director getting a paycheck.
Okay.
Then the assistant director left, so then there was another 5 or 6 weeks, whatever it was, until an assistant director was hired. So that's why there's extra money sitting there right now.
So the children's librarian is retiring, and she's just children's library.
Yep.
Okay. So what would you anticipate the new full-time position to entail just children's? or-
Yeah, just children's. What I was hoping to do was to change that into, I feel like we need some type of structure in that room, so I was hoping to, if it were to become a full-time position, make it into the coordinator of children's services. So that way there's some kind of supervisory role, because we need some type of, staffing hierarchy in there so that there's a chain of command. And to help differentiate, because we also have a part-time children's librarian as well that does 18 hours a week. So it would help differentiate between the positions, and with more hours, they can, there's more responsibilities they can tackle on.
There's more coverage because there are some hours during each week where there's nobody in the children's room.
I was just gonna ask, what are Margot's hours now?
Margot's hours now she does 22 and a half hours a week, Monday and Tuesdays 10 to 4, and then it's roughly like 1 to 5, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so that leaves, anytime she has a program or anything, that leaves the room unattended. As well as Friday mornings, there's absolutely no coverage in there whatsoever until she comes in at like 1 or 1:30 on Fridays.
And you said there was a part-time person.
Yep, there's a
as well.
part-time person. She works in the evenings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. She is there 4 to 8, and she does Thursday mornings and Saturdays as well.
Okay.
Question?
Yeah.
Mike, you've been presenting library budgets for a long time,
Yeah.
and every year we have the conversation about that mandatory requirement in the,
Right.
in the increase in your,
This would cover it because the state, it's Boston looks and says, what's your total budget coming from your municipality? So this is a municipal cost, so we wouldn't have to be adding more money in some other category to make the MAR.
so this would cover that
This
requirement.
would cover that.
Even though we're contemplating doing this out of the regular budget cycle.
Right,
Okay, so I guess that's a point in your favor. I mean,
Right.
Because it's a bone of contention every year about, is it what percent, 3%, 10%?
it's 2.5% over
2.5%?
3 years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good to know.
Right.
Okay.
And, if we were to approve the increase in hours, that would preclude any other requests?
Right.
Okay.
Unless you decide to replace the roof or the sprinkler system again or the carpeting, which you only do every 20 years.
You were in the other meeting, were you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions. Any other questions? No. Okay. Great. Okay.
Let's do it.
Do you want to make a motion?
Want to make a motion to approve the increase of hours to 37 and a half for the coordinator of children's services. Is that that's the one?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? None? Passed unanimously?
I would change it just to approve to recommend.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you,
All right.
Robin. I appreciate that.
And thanks again, as always,
Okay.
for all the work you do over there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You guys do a great job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're ahead. Good.
Take care.
Let's do the minutes from the 18th.
Make a motion to accept them as written.
Do I hear a second? Let's see if that's real.
Second, I guess. I look okay, unless there's any corrections that somebody else saw.
Well, we lost Terry tonight, so we won't have the grammatical corrections, unfortunately, if there were any. Any further discussion? Okay, all All those in favor? Or no, I need a motion to approve, don't I? No, we got, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
We
got
got
the
the
motion
motion
and
and
the
second.
second.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstentions?
Is the humming louder tonight than in the
Loud
past?
This is wind tunnel, it's over
Oh my
here
God,
behind me
it's
now.
awful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
The last few times we've been in here, it's been very.
Sorry, it's just a bearing that needs oil. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah, that'd be great. Did everybody get a FY '21 budget for the
Yes.
finance committee? Okay.
We don't have any reserve fund transfers, do we?
No, not yet.
Any discussion on the MMA conference?
Who's going?
I'm going.
Terry
Terry's
and-
going,
Sheila.
Sheila's going. Did I just? Okay.
Have fun, bring back free stuff.
Yes. Any requests? You want pens? Sure.
They never last.
No? This was the article.
How you doing on your book so far?
I got to her first. She's met him at maybe the second chapter. It's getting real, I just haven't had time to really
All
sit
right,
down.
so we're waiting for
Michelle.
Michelle.
So just as a follow-up, we're
Summer.
expecting to have another meeting with the selectmen regarding the roofing issue. When, the last week of January, is that what they said? Pretty quick.
Well, and I'm sure they want to get the bids, the bid packets out.
Tuesday the 28th, is
They didn't set the date
it?
yet.
Set the date.
Yeah, just
So
set
they don't
that.
necessarily meet on Tuesdays.
They
They
meet
do.
on Tuesdays.
I'm reading right now. It's really good. I start to really get into what I want with that. And I don't want to get up.
Yeah, I know it, yeah.
So the fire station, is that like we're just gonna amputee it or blow it up or?
I think maybe the latter is probably a good suggestion.
Yeah.
It just amazes me, for all the years I've been here, we've never had a building that hasn't had HVAC problems, and it just, I'm like, why can't we find somebody that knows what the heck they're doing?
Police really struggles terrible in the summer. Like where they need to use like regular, portable AC units. Police is really bad.
Just thinking about that building the other day. I spent 45 minutes on the phone with Chief LeBombard before that meeting. And I said, you really should build a new building. Nah, the town will never go for it, he said. And he said, well, I want to give you a new building, so I'm not voting in favor of this. And one other finance committee.
Police station, the police station?
For the police station, they wanted to do renovations, and I think it was around $2 million. And a new building was gonna cost, God, I don't know, 8 or 10. I said, but you're gonna have a new building, you're gonna have exactly what you want. I said, he was just really skeptical of the town going for it. And it's,
Yeah, good, thank you. Where'd you find her?
She was in her office after I walked in.
Come on up to
Well,
the
you can
table,
come right up.
ladies.
As long as you're not asking for money for people.
We're in a giving mood. We're good.
Come on, it's gotta be Christmas still. Oh, yeah, that's for everyone to have. I get Bob, sorry, yeah, his.
oh yeah.
You got mine?
He's not
No,
here.
that was through our meeting this morning.
Terry's not here,
Bartholomew.
and Carrie's not here,
Oh.
Very,
Well.
very.
and Sheila. So there's
So what-
three.
What's your sense, you know, Art just said is all
And John?
all well here.
John's not here.
What was your sense of where we are with Bartholomew?
Can I have one of those?
Oh, I thought we're fine, in the sense I was able to actually get all the reconciliation done too, which was good, but unfortunately, you see a lot of down because of that, with regards to like stabilization and then the CPA. But otherwise, I think everything is pretty good. That was my viewpoint, but I like to look at the next 3 months where there's no other transactions in and out, so kind of gives us some stability.
Okay,
So-
so would you say the government agency, that took the biggest drop, and what is that in? That's in, what's it, all, I think it was a trust fund, right? No, it wasn't a trust fund. Oh, yeah, it was. Didn't
There
that
was-
took about a 10% drop, but that was,
Agencies, I forget which ones that was. Yeah, agencies in all of them, but one of them I think was a little more heavier in it than.
oh, it was in the stabilization. Stabilization took, it dropped like 130,000 or 127.
Because I just made that transfer.
That's part of that 157 you
Yes,
took out? Okay.
yes.
So that's really the
Yes.
reason for that?
Yes,
So-
that was the downside to this, is that you got to see all those transactions that occurred in the last 3 months, because I did them in December. So therefore, that's, yeah.
Okay, all right, so that wasn't necessarily a market loss when you looked through that?
No, no.
That was an expenditure,
An
we
appropriation.
withdrew some money, yeah.
Yes, if you go to, I don't know if it's every single one on page 4, but it looks like this, the historical market value. It'll show you withdrawals over it to the right, because it's in the last 3 months. That's the most recent withdrawal. So if you're looking at CPA, it's like 833,000. That's in and outs, but most of the out was the 1.5 million having to do with the land. So that's why it was such a huge hit.
What happens when you spend money on it?
Exactly.
It is, and I'm here just to ask for a tiny bit, not 1.5 million. So these are for the other 3 that are not here. I don't know who wants them. Okay, thank you.
These were the other members.
Oh, I thought these were the other
Those
ones.
3 were for the selectmen. These were for the other members.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, I figured I'd just kind of bring you guys what I presented to the selectmen.
I think they have it as part of their packet.
Do they? Oh, okay, yeah, you do. Okay, perfect, all right. Well, sorry to kill another tree. I hate killing trees. Anyways, this has to do with revisit to a part-time that I've asked in the last 2 budget cycles. But it's really surfacing now. The need has always been there, but the need is there just that much more now. Calendar year 2020 alone, we have 6 elections. 2 added to that had to do with the special. But regardless, now we are now experiencing early voting prior to the presidential primary. Okay, so that's now in addition. And although they told us 4 years ago this would not happen, we all knew this was going to happen. And then I also foresee eventually it'll be all elections to include local.
Do you
So
foresee it being standardized, the standard amount of time for each different election? Or are they gonna make it 3 weeks for this one, 5 weeks for that? Or don't we know?
I don't have a concrete answer to that because again, they told us and promised, okay, they wanted us not to hurt them at the time, so they decided let's just go ahead and get this part over with them. You know what I'm saying? But we knew full well something else was coming. So far, if you've seen, we've had 2 weeks for the state election, which is the one that's been happening in November. So this one is now 5 days opposed to 2 weeks, thank God. But it's still 5 days. So I don't understand the rhyme or reason to it. Maybe some of it has to do with the supplemental that's up and forthcoming afterwards because they're going to probably fund some of it because we only get a piece, a tiny piece.
We got a piece the first time around, right? We
Tiny
got
piece.
reimbursed for having to
Yeah.
have early voting because towns didn't budget for it and the state mandated it. So they reimbursed us, what, 20%
Small amount, yeah.
of the cost of
That was a
that?
couple of years ago. It was a couple thousand. I think it was somewhere around maybe between $2,000 and $3,000
So that
that
might
we
happen
got.
again because this is a mid-cycle requirement that they're putting on us, right?
Might is a very
Might.
strong word. Yes.
I suppose
Yeah.
we should be used to it by now.
I'm very used to it. And I'm also very used to last minute, like yesterday, they'll send us the file and say you have less than 48 hours to get all the information to us if you even want to get any monies back. So I drop it, make sure I get all the data in so we can get at least those few pennies or whatever it is. So,
Yep.
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 Mhm. Absolutely. But a lot of this is, especially this upcoming year, it's prime time during tax season, you know, a lot of things going on, so we really have a huge need just to have that part-time person. Interesting enough, in my letter, did some kind of research, I didn't know, that when they originally, well, I wouldn't say originally, but 71 is when they combined all 3, and it was a 5 full-time position office. And it was until 82 that it got disbanded down to 4, and that was because of the Prop 2.5 that was voted in. So with that, it kind of forced all cities and towns to make cuts in some fashion, and my office got the cut. So.
Yeah, but back then they were using charcoal and boards to write on, so.
Yep, I know, and a lot less that was going on. And there was a little less. So you know, over the years, it's been doable. But over the last several years since I've been here, they have been constantly adding more and more and more responsibilities just on the single jobs that are at hand. So with that, it's just becoming a struggle having to kind of keep up with that and the intensify at the window there in certain times.
So you're fully staffed right now according to what your requirements were about 3 years ago when you made a request for a certain amount of personnel?
Oh
You're
boy,
fully
you got
staffed
me.
now?
No, not
According to the old-
really.
the old-
We've been struggling, but
Still not?
we've kept
Still-
abreast
I
as
mean,
best
no,
that we
this is
can.
asking a serious
Yeah.
question.
Oh, okay.
I mean, are you fully staffed according to what you thought your requirements were 2 or 3 years ago? I mean, you started looking for people to fill positions, and I know you've cycled people in and out.
I don't personally
But
want to
right
cycle
now-
people in and
right-
out. People are just struggling with so much to be able to learn right away because it's such a multitasking. Oh, okay.
That's not important.
He's asking
That's not the important part of the
Yeah.
question. The question is,
You've got all your positions
have-
filled, so
are you
you are
actually
fully staffed.
right now?
Yes.
I mean, I know you need
Yes.
more.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because all right. I was
Yes.
thinking a little outside of that because I've been requesting for a couple of years, so the answer would have been no, but yes.
Yeah,
The
actually,
answer is
okay.
yes.
You don't have any open positions.
That is
No.
correct. Yes.
Okay, that would be
Yeah.
probably a better way to put it.
Yep. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm here with a mission. I'm sorry. My one thought.
Yep. So do you hear any conversations? I hear conversations occasionally about shortening the work week for municipalities.
Woohoo! I didn't hear
I'm
about
in.
that.
I'm in on that.
4 tens?
You know, the 4-day work week thing. I mean, that conversation is out there in places. Maybe not. I can't tell you where it's been done. I heard it, something on the news this week, caught my ear. And I just thought it was interesting that some operations are looking at that. And of course, you're looking at public service, and I appreciate that, you know, providing additional time, one night a week for people to come in and conduct their business. I appreciate that. But I just thought it was interesting that kind of both sides of this conversation is going on in and around the area.
I've heard those conversations, and a lot of it has to do with the whole electricity and the heating and stuff. So if they shrink the amount of days that's opened, and kind of heavy it on other days, therefore they can shut down and save. So I've definitely heard those conversations. I mean, a lot of towns actually do that, where they stay open late on a given night, and they're only open a few hours on Friday. So I mean, that's pretty typical. My hometown does that. But I find it a lot around the state of Mass as well, talking with my peers and stuff. So.
I think about 12 years ago, we cut one day out of the transfer station. And people still come up to me and say nasty things.
Yeah, don't we hear something? Yeah, we hear
How come the
things.
transfer station isn't open? I don't remember what date it's Thursday?
Thursdays. Oh, yeah.
Thursdays, they
Yeah.
still.
I mean, you know, we're
Yeah,
trying to save,
that's
trying to
me.
save a few
We
dollars.
talked about that the other day.
No, it was a
That
great
wasn't my
idea because
One of my
they went over to
customers
DPW,
suggested
so they.
Yeah.
Closing
You
your
it
should
was a
get
We
the
perfect
flag.
needed a
idea.
new, another
You should
person,
just pass over
and
to
so why
I
not take
remember that.
away
That was
from
a
here and
perfect
give
idea.
here and you get
Mhm.
what you need. Actually,
What
you
was
get
that?
more than one person.
That was Linda Bethel's idea,
What?
to close the transfer station one day and bring it over to DPW.
Yeah.
I disagree. It was one of my customers that brought it up to me.
Did that actually happen? They took.
She
they
brought it up
needed
at a
less-
meeting.
Less people power at the transfer station, they brought them to DPW?
Well, because we closed the one, so they were working there.
Yeah, I don't remember. We had noble reasons for doing that. But I don't
We were
remember
getting
exactly what
requests
they were.
from our then DPW director
And Linda
because
was
of
one
the
of,
amount
Linda brought it
of,
up at a FinCom
Additional
meeting.
personnel was wanted.
because more, yes. And it was actually in a budget hearing when I queried the director as to what, how many days, and we just worked out, how many people you have at the transfer station, what's your least day, Thursday was the day, and the math worked out where taking those 3 individuals and putting them in other places made up for the time that more than made up for the time that he said he was losing.
Right now, your reply to the people who are whining about that extra day being closed, you have 4 other days.
Well,
Make it work.
yeah.
Anyway, we're getting off track, I'm sorry.
No,
But-
we've heard pros and cons with regards to it. Only because people are giving
Well, I
us
send
their
them to
money
you.
for the transfer
I send them
station,
to
so
you
they
guys.
say something. So.
Yeah.
If they have a
Yeah.
problem, I send them to you guys now, so.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. That's okay.
I have said this a couple years ago. Michelle and I had a long talk about this, and I am all in favor of them getting additional time in there. I don't know if evenings, I am hardcore on the part where if you need to come in, then you take a long lunch or you take half a day off. You come in during the regular office hours. You know, if we're mandated to be open in the evening, then okay. I'd rather see you guys home with some form of a life outside of work. But I think it makes sense to to have this position so we can cover the areas that need to be covered without everybody having to stress out because there's not enough time to get everything done. But I very much like the idea of the taxes being paid quarterly versus semi-annually. I think there's huge benefits to that in the long run. That right there, to me, is evidence enough why this is a terrific move. It will pay for itself in the long run.
We had our financial advisor and our auditor that fully support the quarterly as well. There's, I forget the number, I'd done the homework a long time ago, but out of 351 cities and towns, there's, basically like a fifth of us still. And that's kind of a lot that are still semi-annual, so.
And I know somebody at some point on this discussion had brought up, well, it's gonna be hard to transition people over to doing that. We still have the Connect City, correct?
I was gonna say, don't most of them pay through their mortgage, monthly through their mortgage, and then you get it from the bank anyways?
Yes, actually, we'll probably have more, and it's not even struggle, but it's more of getting used to is with just that, the tax services and the banks, because now we have got them to understand that we are semi-annual, but usually when they're calling us, they automatically think we're quarterly because so many of their clients are quarterly.
Yeah.
So to get them on the mindset's not going to be an issue. It's just that those ones we have dealt with and just kind of, and the tax services, but
And the lawyers.
yeah, and the lawyers,
call
but
up and they're like, you're semi-annual, what's
yeah,
that? Because they're so used to doing quarterly, so then we have to explain the year out to them.
yep. So
So is this request part of the regular budget cycle coming up, or is this out of cycle that you're looking for next week?
I like the second of the two. It's actually just that. It's actually coming in and hoping that I can kind of move forward with it now and then also
Otherwise-
add it into.
Otherwise, it doesn't happen until July, right?
Correct.
Next July.
Yeah.
And it'll take time for a person to get acclimated to everything and be trained, and so at least by May, maybe things for the town meeting, things will be moving a little smoother.
Yeah, we'll be able to use this person for the town meeting as well, and maybe if we get them in early enough, if there's there's talk of a special in sometime in March. So start getting them into that, getting them exposed. To have someone as a floater, it doesn't cut it because I need them to understand and get the formality and the familiarity of everything. And being able to have them go to the counter, answer those calls, and know how to answer them, because that's where the big help is during these prime times for this person. So,
What kind of feedback do you get from the select board?
the select board,
Select board.
my feeling that they were fully supportive of it.
Do you have an idea what the percentage is of the monies that are collected automatically through the banks or the mortgage, you're talking about mortgage banks, versus people that just send checks in or whatever? I mean, half, 80%?
So we're roughly $22-23 million budget. I'm just trying to figure this out real quick. If I had to put a percentage to that, I would probably say about 70% is all through.
Pay through their mortgage?
Mortgage, tax service, which is two tiers in basically from someone paying their mortgage. So we get them from the banks directly or through the tax service. I'd say roughly about 70% of the overall. And then the other is the 30%, which, yeah.
Florida has a special reduction in your taxes if you pay early.
Like a discount, like a cash discount.
I think it's Florida. They have some sort of system where the earlier you pay, the less the bill is. They drop it by, well, not a lot, a little bit. But I guess it's an incentive for people to pay sooner rather than later, but that's unrelated.
Is there more work involved with the manual process of somebody coming in, paying it, or sending a check in versus the banks?
There is actually, yeah. Usually with especially the tax service, I'll start with them. The tax service, it's all an electronic file. So they send us everything, and all we're doing is just double checking real quick, okay?
Yep.
So it's an apples to apples report. But it's not an individual keying those, 1,000 tax bills that we got. So everybody else that comes to the window, yes, it's all keying in, or through the mail, it's all keying in.
So 30%.
Yeah. So, and then the banks, it's half and half. Some will send files, which is, it's all just a few clicks. Some of them will actually send probably like 50 checks to 1,000 bills. It's kind of crazy.
Small
So,
banks.
And then you
yeah.
get some people who pay online through their bank,
Yeah.
so their bank cuts them a check, and the bank
Right.
mails us in a check, but they don't list what the property is, they just list their last name, so then you gotta go searching to figure out, okay, they're paying
Nice.
this address, not this one. And then we had the issue of,
'Cause they don't
they were
submit
coming
the-
in post predated,
The slip
so
with
a
it.
few days ahead, so we had,
Correct, and
all
some
that.
will go in, and when they go to do that online thing, first of all, there's so many other measures they don't understand, is the check doesn't cut that day, it's that date that you said, which is, sometimes a week or two later, and then they didn't change the memo from the last time that they paid their electric bill or something else, so we get it, and we're like, well, what is this for? So there's time that goes into those bills with research and stuff, and that's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
So that's
So I was just
something
trying
that
to
would.
understand
Mhm.
the process.
Yep, and that
So
that
by
would be
doing
something.
this quarterly, you're gonna need an extra person to be able to do quarterly, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes.
That if you
Yeah.
don't get an extra person, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to be able to process this.
Correct. I would not support going quarterly if I don't get another body. Yeah, this office just cannot handle that.
And as stated in here, the town wants to go to quarterly, getting the funds in faster, and spread out more evenly to pay bills also.
Yes, and those are discussions. I don't know if I exactly laid it out in this particular write-out. I've done a
There's some
few of them.
reference to it,
Yes,
but I
yes.
was reading between the lines of what
Yes.
you were trying to get at. Okay.
Absolutely, yes. And because we're with the semi-annual, every September and October, I'm kind of like, I want to use the phrase, but losing sleep, because I'm worried that we're not going to have the cash flow to pay the upcoming bills, because just that, we're spending come July 1st, because we have this budget, well, actually, this budget's being worked on, but it's not approved, but our fiscal year starts July 1, and we're spending and we're spending and we're spending. We had no revenue coming in until later on over here, not even quite about 5 months into the fiscal year. So I'm having to clean and close all accounts and then possibly borrow, and that's happened on a few occasions, to close that gap, to continue to operate until the budget has gone through its final process. So. This is the part where I always like to compare Connecticut and Massachusetts. Both same fiscal years. Both start July 1st. Both start spending July 1st. Connecticut gets revenue July 1st. Massachusetts, Southwick, doesn't start getting revenue until roughly October, November.
Okay, but you're getting the same amount of money.
So now that
Right,
you,
yeah.
But the
Cash flow.
timing of it is a
Timing
huge
problem,
cash flow
yeah.
issue, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think we looked at what the interest was on the borrowing, and it was, I would seem to remember it being negligible. Less than what another person was gonna cost if we were just looking at the quarterly billing. It's a factor, obviously, but we would save that interest cost.
Does that have to go to a town vote if you go to quarterly billing?
Quarterly billing is a town vote process, yes, and it's already being at least gathering information right now as we speak to understand the entire process. But it would go to this May town meeting. It would not take effect. Say it was for not the. I'm not sure if it actually would go to the fiscal year 20 or the fiscal year 21. So the special town meeting or the annual town meeting. But regardless, it would be a whole nother year before it actually could be implemented. So it's got to get approved, and then it's got to go through a process. So
Okay, so if we approve this contingent upon the town approving the quarterly bill, can we do that? But you're also saying that you need help immediately right now, and you're citing the election process.
I'm citing the election process, which is adding to the whole
Oh.
entire thing, but I also
Okay.
got to collect during this whole time, whether it's quarterly or semi. But what I'm also saying is if you give me this additional body, yes, I've got these things that are happening, but I'll give you some more. I will give you more, meaning if you give me that body, I can turn around and add quarterly to this. I can add an evening hours to the equation as well. So with that, it's able to help me also get through the difficulties, but give more back.
Okay,
So,
because what I
yeah.
was getting at
Mhm.
is you were saying that the quarterly billing will offset the cost of a person. So
In part.
where's
Part of
that 1 year, how are we funding the position for the 1 year until the quarterlies start? Because I'm leaning more towards, yes, contingent upon the town approving the quarterlies,
Mhm.
but what do we do and how do we offset or justify the
think
1 year?
The other thing we got coming up with the elections too, that we have the 2 elections in March, we'll also have our motor vehicle bills due, also, our big file. So that's a lot right there, just the file itself, because it's what, 10,000 cars?
We have 10,000 bills that generally
10,000
go out.
bills that go
I know
out.
you're looking at the taxes being the basis of trying to fund this position, but we're not just that. Unfortunately, the elections, everything's compounding to kind of put the huge need out there. So it's kind of going quarterly, the income with that, it'll help pay for some of it. It's definitely not going to pay for the entire thing. I've structured it where I don't want this person to be, and I don't want it for the town either, where this person would be qualifying for benefits. So that's a huge part. So it's hardcore when I say it's close to being just as I present it here, and no additional, which would be obviously your benefits and things of that nature. So this, that's how it's structured, to be under that many hours where it doesn't trigger it. So,
Yeah, so we basically be supporting the program for the first year in terms of the quarterly billing, because even if it was approved, it wouldn't go into effect for another year.
correct.
So we'd have to be acting on good faith and good judgment.
Well.
And these other reasons to
Yeah, the
support.
elections that you're gonna have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to support the request.
To recommend. Motion to recommend the request.
Okay.
Yes, second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions, Chris, or anything else
How,
from us?
so now, when is the select board gonna decide if they're gonna put it on like a special election, anything like that? Do we know when the next step will be taken?
Immediately, I know that, because I know that I have to move with this, so I don't know, the meeting next week, I'll have to find out and see if this gets put on there, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
They said they were watching the meeting next
No,
week.
no,
Week after.
okay,
Week after.
okay, all right, so, and then I'll just have to act quickly, which is fine,
Excellent.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you guys tonight. Sweet, see ya.
Okay, public comments. Seeing none. Any other old business? No, okay. Any other new business?
When you guys go to the MMA, if there are like extra handouts or anything like that, the informational handouts, could you grab extras for
What
those
was
of us
the
who can't be
CPC
there?
stuff?
Is there any particular?
Yeah, that's what I was-
They're gonna
I was
put a
curious.
warrant article together to
Honestly,
fund the Allen
anything
treatment.
and everything.
Who is? The selectmen, they filed an application for it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So I was wondering why that was in there also.
Yeah, it's because they're going to, they filed an application for the funding for the alum treatment.
Excellent.
What's
There-
that, CPC?
Yeah, through the CPC. That's why I was wondering why it was in
And
R.
CPC will be meeting
Okay.
tomorrow to, I think, probably go over the application, because they're having a meeting.
Because we've got 14% of the 100% that we're supposed to get so far. We might
Well,
get-
the alum treatment's not 800,000, the bid came in at 600. So it's lower than what, you know, they had originally projected. But it has to get done in the spring, so.
I'm glad that we're moving forward at least with it.
So are we looking at a potential special town meeting, like
I would say March,
March?
maybe, yeah, very, very beginning of March. If, you know, this is gonna be a warrant article.
Right, because they have a
Maybe.
time limit, right?
I think it's the end of March. Well, sometime in March.
I would say sooner, but yeah.
Okay. So are they getting a grant for this?
The select board filed an application to the CPC.
Okay, for the CPC to fund it.
Correct, or to bond for it, however it's gonna work out, probably depending on tomorrow's meeting, I would assume.
So we didn't, because I know Dick Reynolds was working on getting,
We're
grant
going
money.
both directions.
Oh, okay, all right. So this is kind of the backup plan?
Yep.
Hopefully.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
because if they approve this, this would take up most of the funds that are taken in this year. Because it was down to next to nothing after North Pond. Besides historical and low-income
Right.
housing.
Right.
But and that would be the treatment for this year?
Mhm.
So it's a time.
The treatment
It's
has to be done right
It's
away.
timing, yes.
Yeah, it is a time.
I think even last year, it probably
They
should have
missed
been
the-
done.
the
but
miss- they missed the
They missed the
window.
timing, so it's crucial this year, yeah.
So we gotta put up a couple toll booths where the road goes in between the ponds.
Robin, can these go to Carrie and,
Sure.
and Sheila? Or at least hold on to them till our next meeting?
Any other new business? Okay, so I'm guessing the select board is gonna try to meet on 29th, would that be?
28.
28th? So should we tentatively schedule a
Dale?
meeting for the 28th?
Sure.
I may not be there. I already have a seminar I'm going to that evening, so I'm gonna be a question mark.
You're looking at Tuesday?
The 28th.
Well, I'm just gonna hedge my bet rather than make another, have the same thing happen again, Robin, where we made our meeting and then they asked us to come in, and so I didn't wanna bring
Okay.
people in for 2 nights.
I just wanna make sure we got the
All
right
be
date.
here, So that's why I changed the meeting, but I don't wanna have the same thing happen, so if we just schedule our meeting for the 28th.
What time?
6 o'clock, I think, because the select board will probably do a 5 o'clock meeting again, I'm guessing. No, you don't think so?
No, that was because of this presentation.
All right, if we have to move the time, we can figure that out next week even if we have to.
Yep.
Okay.
Who are the guest speakers this year at the MMA, you know?
I don't, did you get booklets or anything like that?
I have them part of your packets. You can go onto their website
Okay, all right, I'll do that.
and get the agenda. It's MMA.org.
Okay.
Those
Write that down.
.orgs, you know?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.